Good morning again, guys. Still Monday. Thought I'd get this one to you before Wall Street opens on Monday morning for the first full week of trading in April. A lot of news has come out and said, oh my God, stagflation and everything like that. And I want to explain to you guys what it is because it's something that's very important when it comes to preparing your finances and where you're going to be going forward. You know what to expect. Now, a lot of you over what was it, Thursday and Friday when we flipped, asked me about the inverted yield curve. And if you guys don't know what that is, I'll explain it real quick. The 2-year Treasury is now at a higher interest rate than the 10-year Treasury, which means the government has to pay more interest on short-term loans than it does on long-term loans. Think about this. If you were going to go to the bank and buy a CD and they told you they were going to pay you 2.43% to buy a 2-year CD, but they'd pay you 2.39% to buy a 10-year CD, which one would you buy? Okay. Tie up your money for a shorter amount of time and get paid more interest. That's great when you're the recipient. It sucks when you're the payer. Well, that's where we are right now with the payer. And this goes back to what I told you eons ago about watching the 10-year. You know, the 10 years up here at 239 as I'm recording this. 250 is panic time. And we're getting to it. All right. And this is where stagflation comes into play. So, first thing I want to do is explain to you, or show you, I guess, if you will, the yield curve and how this affects us. Now, if you look at this chart, okay, what this chart is the 10-year minus the 2-year. So when that goes to above the red line there, that signals a recession. And if you look, all the gray bars on this chart is when we've been in recessionary periods, right? We go above the line, you know, we hit a recession, 1970s to 1980s, 1990s, 2002, 2008. Well, guess where we are again? We are now above that red line. That tells you we are going to see a recession. Okay, it's pretty damn accurate. So what is stagflation? All right, there's the big question. So here is the definition just for you guys to look at. Persistent high inflation combined with high unemployment and a stagnant demand in a country's economy. In other words, a crappy GDP. All right. Well, let's break this apart into pieces here. Let's take the first part, inflation. Here's a chart on inflation for the last 12 months. Looking pretty good, right? Just to give you this, during Trump's tenure, we're 1.7, 1.9 inflation, which is pretty good, all right? A solid inflation is about 2%, thereabouts. You need to have a little bit. But of course, we are going up and up and up and up and up. So, there's the first problem. I don't have to tell you guys about inflation. You all know that, all right? But I'm going to come back to it in a second. So then let's go into UI, unemployment, okay? Now here's a chart on unemployment. And if you see in the middle of the chart, that big peak, well, that was the financial crash in 2008, 2009, when the housing market fell apart. And we had 17% unemployment. I remember in South Bend, Indiana. I was living up there at the time. It's like, yippee, okay? And then eventually things came back together. The massive spike that you have at the right-hand side is COVID, all right? That was when shut it down, closed the economy, everything of the sort, and everybody was unemployed all of a sudden. Okay. Now, obviously, companies have opened back up. That has gone back to, people were working from home. Then it was now going back to the offices. Stores are opening up, everything like that. So unemployment's come back down. However, if you look back at one of the underlying causes of 2008, 2009, and I've mentioned this a couple of times as to why unemployment is going to go back up, is because of inflation. Like I said to you many times, I had people when I was talking to them about a job, and they're like, I can't afford to go to work. That's not paying me enough to pay the gas to get back and forth. We will begin to see unemployment spike because of higher gas prices. Simple put, people aren't going to be able to afford to go to work, and companies can't afford to give them raises. So you get into that paradox where, oh my God, we need people, but gas prices are so high and people aren't going to come to work. This is where you get into the talks, and you're starting to see a little bit of this about, let's go to a 4-day work week, work 4 10s instead of 5 8s, save people a little bit of money. That's all fine and dandy, but now that works in the other way, because now a store's closed on, say, Friday or Saturday or something like that, because they can't bring people in. That causes a problem that will lead to inflation. So they work in conjunction. One causes the other, and then it's a snowball effect. All right. So then you move over and you look at the third part of it, and this is GDP, gross domestic product, the combined amount of money that is made by every company in the United States. Okay, whether you're selling widgets or Big Macs, doesn't matter. Combine it all. Now, this graph only goes to 2020. And obviously, you can see there was a massive drop off from 2019 to 2020. Again, that was because of COVID. All in honesty and fairness and everything like that, GDP in 2021 was 5.7%. We saw great growth, okay? And Biden is, of course, taking credit. Oh, look at we've had the highest GDP growth in since 1962 or something like that. I mean, it was, and he's correct. But when you hit the bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up, okay? Look back on the left-hand side of the chart. When we bottomed out in 2009, what did you have? You had a massive spike up in 2010, okay? Same thing happens. When you hit rock bottom, there ain't no way to go up. It's either straight up or sideways, as the country song goes. So, as much as it's great that we were up 5.7% in 2021, here's the projected numbers for 2022 by the Fed. Last December, they thought we were going to see 4% GDP growth in 2022. They have now revised that to 2% growth. Okay? That ain't good. 2% GDP growth is fine if you have 2% inflation, but then you are stagnant, okay? Part of stagflation. So this is what we looked at in 2021. If you look at the bottom of this chart, okay, 2021 we had 5.7% GDP. What do we have there? I can't quite read. 7% inflation and 3.9% unemployment. Okay, so just remember those. This is where we are in 2022. 2% GDP projected. Right now, we're at 7.9% inflation, and that's the last numbers reported. It's expected to go over 8 when the new numbers come in, just so you guys know. And unemployment is at 3.6, which, like I said, is inevitably going to go up again. Now, those that don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, right? Let's take a look at the last time the numbers were similar. Look at the top of this chart. 1973. Some of you guys are old enough to remember what it was like in 73. Okay, I was 7 years old. I can remember sitting in the back seat of the car in gas lines, but I didn't have to pay bills at 7 years old. Some of you guys did, all right? You look at the same thing. Inflation significantly higher than GDP, unemployment climbing, and again, what were the causes and effects? The Vietnam War, gold standard, blah, blah, blah. There you go, gold, coming off the gold standard. Look at 1974, look at 1975. That's what you have to prepare for, guys. When we go into a negative GDP, means we are producing less. Anything you guys have heard anywhere in the news about production going down? All over the world. Pick it. Electronics, furniture, food, whatever it would be. We've heard all that. Production is having a problem. Inflation going up. What did we hear about, what did I just say about we're supposed to go over 8 and showed you the chart where we're going, right? Unemployment going up. Yep. Okay. Gas prices are... It's got to happen once a month, guys. Gas prices going up, going to cause inflation to go up. Look at the comment in 1974. Stagflation. Watergate, okay. That one different, okay. Whatever you want to call it, Huntergate, sure, whatever. But I mean, that has nothing to do with it right now. And the Fed started raising rates. What else have we heard? The Fed is going to raise rates 6 more times this year. This is the problem, okay? When we hit this is going to be a stagflationary type economy. That is devastating to mom and pop kettle, all right? We are going to really feel it in the wallet, guys. I know everybody says right now, buy tangible goods. I keep saying the same thing, buy tangible goods, buy tangible goods. Buy what you can. Everything is going to get significantly more expensive. Wages aren't going anywhere. The welfare class is going to grow like crazy with everybody coming over the southern border. If you remember what else happened in the 70s, taxes got raised. Just want you to think about this. This is what's going to happen to your money in the next couple of years. It's going to be worth a hell of a lot less. It's going to be harder and harder and harder to make ends meet. Please do whatever you can to reduce your bills, okay? If you can buy the extra food now, great. If you can pay off the car now, great. Do whatever. Because it's going to get harder and harder and harder, real hard, to make ends meet in the next couple of years. As I always say, keep an eye on the 10-year because it's very telling as to where we're going. Have a good one. Pinball out.